Hey guys, welcome back. We are back on the MS440. About all I've done is ordered and sourced and gotten here the parts and done some cleaning up. We have ultrasonic cleaned the cylinder. I did go ahead and clean the squish band up. Unfortunately, this thing has a major ring of death, we call it. So taking a bunch of material out of the squish band of this one's probably not going to happen, but this thing had pretty good compression for a saw that was well used anyway. You can refer back to the very first video about 2 videos back to see the initial assessment of this build. And what we have a new Walbro carb kit. We have a new OEM fuel line. We have crank seals. And we have us a Meteor piston. Always had good luck with those. Have some that's been out there in builds for quite some time now, and they seem to hold up just as good as anything else you will buy and put in there. With that said, this stuff will be in separate videos, so we'll get it out of the way. Alright guys, let's have a look at this Meteor piston. These things are always really nice. OEM style circlips. Really like those. I think everybody loves cable rings. I've always had nothing but good luck out of those things. If I don't quit bumping the camera, I'm gonna knock it over probably for the 100th time since I've had this camera. Wrist pin, we'll check the fitment on that. And this stuff's always like really well packaged. And if we didn't go over it in the first video, this is a 12mm saw. I think about all the 440s are. I don't think there was ever a 10mm 440. I think that was the earliest of the 044s, and those actually had like some of the hardware, like the starter cover and stuff, was smaller as well. Ask me how I know. Yeah. Very nice quality. The Meteor stuff, there's not even really any sharp edges like you'll get on the cheaper pistons, but you know, you're gonna have to dish out a little more coin for the Meteor. Like I said, I've used a bunch of them over the years, and in my opinion they're right up there with what came in the saw. There'll be people say it's trash. They'll disagree with that. I really don't care. To each their own. Very nice. And fitment on that pin is excellent. Not too loose, not too tight. That's the way I like them. Wrist pins anyway, for that matter. Alright. We're just temporarily putting this on. Arrow toward the front. If it doesn't have an arrow on some rare occasion, most do. In most cases, it's not on every saw, but your locating pins for the piston rings in most cases are going to go toward the intake side. Some of the newer, later saws do have a locating pin on the intake side, and they'll have usually the lower one on the exhaust side. It makes widening the exhaust port a nightmare unless you drop the lower ring. And if you hear some of us speak of ring of death, I'm sure you can see it plainly. I can see it plainly through the camera monitor. Kind of got the exposure turned way up so we can see in there. What we're going to do next, guys, we'll take a deeper look at that cylinder right before the porting starts on it. Not sure how long I'm going to make this video. I don't know if I've done an actual like really long in-depth video on porting. Not 100% sure that I want to. Some of my older ones, you know, where we done some porting on camera and showed some little tips I've learned, done really good, but it just seems there's so much of this stuff out there today that if you've got a channel, guys, and you're getting views at all, regardless of how long you've been doing it, you're doing really good. I think my stats showed the channel in total, it's about 270,000 4,000 views a month, and most of that comes from the shorts feed. The long form feed, nowhere near that, but I only make a couple long form videos a week, so I've noticed here lately if I do more than that, they just take forever to get any traffic. I'm really weird if I look at the stats of a video and I don't like it. A lot of times I'll delete it. Might sound crazy, might not. You just have to be a creator to understand, I guess. Turn the camera off to actually find that. It was over here and behind my drill and impact driver. Alright. That may be this whole video. It may just be looking at this stuff, checking Squish, checking port map. We'll just have to see. You about have to have one of those little thin T-handles or bits to go into a lot of these Stihl cylinders. The holes on the top of the cylinders, not much bigger than that, honestly. So take that in mind before you go to tear your saw down. You'll need something like that. I had a really nice long bit. It was actually a Stihl product. And it busted. I've had that thing 4 years, busted on the end, taking a saw apart. But whatever, we'll source another one and buy it eventually. We do spin freely. It's a good sign. The magnets on that thing are still strong. That's a good thing as well. So we'll get our solder out here and our calipers, and we're going to see where Squish is at on this thing and how much we need to cut off the base, if any. Alright guys, I'm going to try to check this without getting in the way of the camera. Sometimes it's difficult. Alright. I don't even know if we're hitting or touching that. We're touching it. That thin solder, sometimes it's hard to tell. We actually got a pretty nice Squish on it. Focus camera. Yeah. Okay guys, so it was a little tight, so I took a few more thousandths out of the Squish band. Can't take much. I'd already cleaned up and took probably 10 thou. I went back and took another 5 thousandths because we had like 15, 16 thousandths Squish. I already checked it on one side. We had dead on 20, which I'm fine with. 15 on a saw with a 50mm bore is kind of pushing it, in my opinion. If it's something you're playing with, it ain't never going to develop a lot of carbon buildup. You're probably good, but a work saw, something someone's going to work with at all. I like them over 20 thousandths, if not 25 thousandths. Alright guys, we're good. What we'll do now is we'll pull this off, give you guys a look. Very, very little could be taken from that band. If you tried to go in and take 40, 50 thou out, we're talking like 15 thousandths out of it. That's like, is thinner than like a piece of cardstock. Like as thin as a piece of paper. Maybe a little thicker, but what happens is if the ring gets up to where that, what we call the ring of death is at, they'll hang and cause you a nightmare. Now, I've not had one to do that. I don't want one to ever do that, but I've seen some guys talk about it. It doesn't seem to be a very good time at all. There we go, she's looking real nice. I bet this camera gets darker as we zoom. It's just the way the lens on it works. Looking real good. Like I said, I've ultrasonic cleaned this twice. That's kind of why the base is a little discolored. The band did look like that until I went back in and took a little more out of it. Yeah, we're looking at it. Alright guys, tools that I use to check port timing. I've not gotten my book out yet, but that'll come later. But I like to check port openings. If you've seen my videos, you know all of this at exactly 10 thousandths. I have a pick here I've made to go in and check transfer timing. Just feel for when that port opens the earliest and take that number. I use the degree finder. I find it to be a lot more consistent, a lot more accurate, a lot quicker to set up. That's just me. I've got a drawer full of degree wheels over here. We've done that and shown that in videos. So this is just a little more modern and makes it a lot easier for me to duplicate my work. With that said, what we're going to do is get this saw up on TDC. We'll insert this little pick right there and put our degree finder on. And I've got a chuck here somewhere. We'll locate that. That's just a 1/2 inch like Jacobson chuck. I cut the long end off of that. Makes it so much easier to get in here and cinch that thing down. Alright, that should work. What I like to do, we're going to go in through the intake port with their feeler gauge. We're going to get right dead in the center of that port. We're going to carry this out. And just reset it. And we're going to spin it around. We have 139.9, which means basically we have 140 degrees of total open time on that intake port. So what we do is we get that set dead on 70 degrees, and the magnets are fighting me on the flywheel. We're going to carry it back out, and you can see right before the magnets pop, there's TDC. It usually indicates you've got things good. Alright, so checking the intake timing at 10 thousandths opening. Got it set dead smack on 70 degrees, which is close enough. We're not going to worry about 1/2 of a tenth of a degree. Like I said, it was 139.9, which you can round that to 140 if you're using one of these. If you've got a degree wheel, that's not even going to matter. Alright guys, exhaust port, transfer ports, and I have already checked these. We're looking at 104.1 on the exhaust, and I was expecting a little lower roof like that. With the gasket, you know, we were probably looking right at 103 on the roof, and Squish was probably between 30-35 thou stock with the gasket. You know, that's why we had such good compression. They crack open like 120 and they stagger all the way up like 128. That's kind of nuts. Usually you'll have 4 degree stagger or something, but it's a 16 blow down saw right from the factory, and you guys seen how it performs. So I'm not that guy that's going to preach one way's better than the other, but a little lower roof, a little shorter blow down, they will perform, they will turn right up. But with that said, unfortunately, we're going to call this video right here. because I've got other things that I have to go do this afternoon. So we'll get into some port work in the next video. As always, give us a thumbs up. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, and I hope y'all have a great day.